You are now listening to Carlie's Couch.
I'm Carlie.
And I'm Lex.
In this podcast, we discuss a wide array of topics about life and how to live your best life.
Whatever that looks like for you.
Hope y'all enjoy. Failure in life is inevitable, but this week on Carlie's Couch, we discuss 5 ways to help us reframe failure.
Buenos dias. Welcome to Carlie's Couch. Thanks for joining us today. Carlie, how are you feeling?
I am wonderful today. I feel very vibrant and energetic. And I was like, man, it would be so cool if we could do an episode all in Spanish. But I was like, I would be struggling. But, you know.
Where'd that even come from?
You said buenos. You said buenos dias. And I was like, oh, that would be fire.
Okay.
Yeah, but that just made me think about it. Anyways, how you doing today?
Okay. I'm feeling okay, just regular. Kind of tired and feel like I'm ready for a vacation, but all is going pretty well.
Man, if I was like, all right, Lexi, I got 10K and I'm going to send you on a vacation wherever you want to go today. Like, I'll get your plane tickets. Where are you going?
10K?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe South America somewhere.
I recommend Peru for the food, but other great places down there too. Nice. We don't have a question from the couch, so that's as close as y'all gonna get today. People were not biting. I tried 3 different questions and nobody was biting today. So it is what it is.
That's real. Sometimes I ain't got time for that. No, you'll probably go back. If you have questions up now, you'll probably go back and get LA answers. But
that's so annoying. Every time. People on Facebook love to answer them dang questions.
Yeah, that's what Facebook's for. So today we're talking about failure. I feel like failure is something where if you are a podcast listener or if you're a self-improvement person, then you probably already have heard, over and over again that, failures are really stepping stones and all of those things. But that doesn't make it any easier to deal with when you really have like what you feel is a big, big failure. It's still difficult to transition through what feels like or what you may be labeling as failure. So we're going to talk about that today. And we're going to start out by discussing like what failure is and what it feels like to us.
Mm-hmm. Whenever I think about failure or when I think about failure.
That one could have went both ways.
Dang. I be confused on the ones that can go both ways and then wrong on the ones that can only go one way. Anyways, so whenever
failure.
Fuck. Okay. I'm gonna start again. Whenever I think about failure, it's missing the mark. Like for example, if I want to make 10K a month for a holistic and I don't, then I failed that month. And then I think about like in the past, I've thought about like when a relationship ended, I felt initially like it was a failure because it didn't like turn out the way I wanted it to. So I'm thinking about like failure is not meeting your goals or not doing what you set out to do.
So something is a failure if it doesn't turn out the way that you wanted it to turn out. I guess that's kind of.
Yeah, I'm about to say, that's kind of my thoughts initially. What about you?
When I think about failure, a big part of it that makes it more difficult is if it's like a public failure, I would say. As an entrepreneur, somebody who's had their own business for the last 12, 13 years, failure, you get real used to like, things mess up or they don't end up how you would like or, things happen all the time. And so I would probably say I may be numb to like what maybe consider like failure to one person. It might be different to another. And it's still very difficult. And especially if it's a failure in the eyes of somebody else, like maybe somebody on a team, somebody you're working with, maybe some potential connection or something going on, those can hit way worse. And so I guess when we think about what we, personally consider failures, that can also show us that that's a reflection of like what's important to us. Because I'm, sometimes I'll be like, well, I ain't hit that one goal or whatever, but it's like, all right. And maybe that actually reflects that I didn't think I was going to make it anyway, or I wasn't trying, that hard anyway. But, there are some failures that feel more tough than others. So yeah, there's lots of things.
Yeah, when you were talking, I was like, also like maybe letting down somebody. Like I thought I could help them or show up and do something, and I didn't. Like that probably feels the heaviest out of everything. Like when I'm talking, I'm like, that's a heavy feeling to like let somebody I love down. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm thinking. And I looked up the definition because that's important to have context, and it is lack of success. Very, very straight to the point. Non-fulfillment. Defeat and frustration were all things that were top for the definition of failure.
Yeah, and even with the way they defined it, it seems very subjective with, based on the person, what they feel is considered success and fulfillment and, doing things well and or right.
Mm-hmm. And I think even in like, when I think about prevalent quotes in society, I think you kind of alluded to one earlier, but it's like, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work, like Edison and then Michael Jordan.
Are we talking about each one?
No, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. I feel that is a great way to look at failure, because when you think about it, what this is really saying is that, well, that's part of the path to success, especially if you're figuring a thing out. We talked about how there's different types of failures, but there is I'm trying to do this thing, like a specific thing. Maybe this one isn't as relevant to like how you deal with people or all of the things that could be considered failures. But if it's a matter of numbers, a numbers game, and like keep trying, then this acknowledges that, well, that is part of getting to that point, and to not get too frustrated when you're seeing these failures that are hopefully getting you closer to whatever the response is that you're looking for.
Yeah, I think that's a great insight on that quote. And as you were talking, and you're talking about it being a numbers game, I love women's basketball, and so I've been watching March Madness crazy. My bracket is killing it, man. It hurt my heart with Juju, but
I saw Candace still got 100%.
I was until USC lost.
Shout out my dog Candace,
Shout out
who
to
works
Candace.
for WNBA now.
Gang. I was at 99 until USC lost. They would have won if they had Juju, but that's okay. Shout out to Paige Buckets. But I thought it was dope because the coach for LSU, she has other issues, but she's a great coach. And one of the reporters was like, you guys made it to the Elite Eight, but you didn't make it past, the last 2 years. Like, she was like, are you saying that as a good thing or a terrible thing? And he was like, terrible. And she was like, how many Elite Eights have you been to? How many Final Fours have you won? And he was like, none. She said, okay, it sounds pretty damn good then to me.
All right.
And so, like, when we're thinking about success, like, everybody wants to win the thing, but that's why I love Michael Jordan's quote, like, I can accept failure. Everyone fails at doing something, but I can't accept not trying. And I think for me, that's like a way to live life. Like, I don't know if you can ever fail, because as long as you showing up, then you're not failing. The moment you give up on something is the moment that you actually lose.
Or that as long as you are trying, your failure is still movement. But if you're not trying, you're not moving at all. Another thing relevant to women's basketball, because I've been watching too, and I was just thinking the other day, I forgot what game I was watching, but a thought I had watching the score be so close, and at the end, I was like, dang, I bet this loss, I wonder if they would rather be like, I'd rather have not made it to here than to lose here. And I thought about that, like, how would I feel? Because now you're on big center stage, and it's like, that L is crazy. And it was such a close game, too, that I was like, man, I wonder, like, does certain failures hit harder in a case like that, to where you let it make you wish, like, I shouldn't even got this far, which is something I would say don't do. But that's something I thought about the other day watching the games, too.
Man, for that, I'm like, please, get me as far as I can go, and then look, that's it.
Like when you lose the Super Bowl, when you lose the presidency, when you lose the big thing at the end, it's like.
I mean, but as an avid college football fan, I'm like, look, I'd rather be in the big show and lose than not even make it to the stage, because then you never had a chance. Like, what is all this for if you trying to hide from taking an L? Like, L's happen to everybody, and I think that's okay. Yeah. But yeah, that's a great thought too, and on such like a big stage, like because there's so many millions of people.
Another common quote we hear around failure is not an option. Talk about that.
For me, that ties together with the Michael Jordan quote, because like my thing I've always known is I'm going to be successful. I'm going to make something of myself, and it might not have panned out the way that I thought originally. I'm on a whole different path, but I'm still working towards a thing. And so I'm never going to fail unless I give up and settle for a life that I don't want.
I think you're saying the same thing as I was thinking here, is that it makes sense to say failure is not an option, because what you're saying is that that's not where I'm going to stop. And like that, I will keep going. So like, I'm going to keep going until the win comes, or until there's a success, or until this is achieved, and not going to accept failure. Which I guess, we're defining the failure, the real failure, in not trying and stopping. And also, failure happens all the time. If we're looking at it like, failure is, hey, you missed the mark at this point or that point. And so while failure happens, you're not deciding to live there.
Yeah, and not deciding to let that like fear or like, so let's say you had a fear of losing, and so that made you self-sabotage and not show up. Like, I think fear of failure actually keeps a lot of people from ever even playing the game, ever even putting themselves out there, ever even taking opportunities.
So I feel like maybe somebody could use failure as not an option to justify that. Like, failure. So failure is not an option. Like, so I'm not. Oh, and actually, I know somebody who has moved like that, where it's like, I don't want to fail. So like, I'm not gonna start this thing until it's all the way perfect. Or they let themselves run into like keep practicing, keep doing that thing without actually competing, because failure is not an option. And in that case, I guess they continue to hopefully get better, but there's a lot of mental war going on in this case, which I could see probably could be a thing in any case like that really doesn't feel like that's worth it.
Yeah, and I think it, as many things, stems from childhood a lot of times, and like perfectionism. So, for example, for me, I always felt like I had to be the best student because I had a lot of crazy stuff going on at home, and I was scared to get taken from my parents. So I was like, look, if I'm perfect, nobody's going to ask questions. And so for me, failing, bro, literally, like,
that's real.
I felt like I couldn't fail because then I would like let them down. And so I carried, I remember it, like I was in our Miss MCHS pageant, like my senior year of high school, and they're like, what's your biggest fear? I was like, fear of failure. And that was because I was so scared about that. But as I've grown, it's changed. But I think like that fear really holds people back. And I work with a lot of kids now, and like we were making sushi, and one of the kids, and their brains are soft. They're middle school. So like, I'm not expecting them to have emotional regulation skills, and that's fine. That's what we're working on. But like, he's a fun kid. He loves trying new stuff. Like, he's there trying to make his sushi, and he had a big old sheet of nori. And every time he tried to roll it, it just was breaking. He was like, I don't even want to do this anymore. Blah, blah. Like, he, lost it. And I was like, well, you can make a hand roll. We could do something else. Let's try wetting it. Let's just try different ways. And I think there's this like mindset right now around like not letting kids fail, or like giving everybody participation ribbons because it hurts their feelings if they don't get first. And I think it's really important because failing helps build resiliency and like helps you critical thinking. Like, we can make a hand roll. We still have a sushi bowl here. We have all these things. But if you just quit, then that's really failing. Then you're like, I'm never going to do sushi again. And then you hate sushi for the rest of your life. And then it becomes this whole big thing.
Yeah, it's very important to learn how to fail. It's very important to learn like how to be rejected, how to deal with those feelings of things not being perfect, not getting things right. And that is big. And I think that maybe you as well, probably you, but like we kind of grew up in the era of like compliance to parents and to authority. Whereas now I think that's something that we think about with kids now, and how to help them like regulate and like allow them to express. And it's not about like getting it just this way or shutting down and all of those things. That is very important, to be able to know how to fail gracefully and how to fail successfully, even though that sounds crazy. So you just said you have fear of failure. I'm trying to think. I hate the term fear of failure because I'm sure I do have fear of failure, and it just doesn't click in that way,
Can I throw an idea? So having an upper limit is also a fear of failure, like going past a certain thing, like you don't think it's available to you or open to you. And so in many high performers, that's actually how fear of failure manifests, is like a self-sabotage or something that happens to keep you from actually achieving all these things you say you want.
And I agree. And I think that I know it's there, and it's hard for me to like to pinpoint it in this type of way. And yes, I know there's a lot of things. Yeah, actually thinking about it now, there's a lot of things I'm afraid of. Yeah, and so I'm afraid of failure. Sure.
There's a book called The Big Leap, which is about this upper limit fear, or like whenever you feel like, oh, I'm in a great relationship and then you sabotage it, or oh, I have this great job and then you sabotage, or you notice that you just can't make past a certain amount of money without losing it. It's this upper limit issue, and I think it's by a person called Gay Hendricks, but it's called The Big Leap. I just recommended it to one of my clients. She's amazing, like C-suite, killing it. And she said something the other day, and I was like, I feel like you should read this book. And she was like, oh my God, I already finished it. Like, it's so good. And I'm like,
you was like, dang, go back and take some notes.
Yeah, exactly. Look,
that's real. All of it is about, I think with the upper limit problem, it's about consistently looking at ourselves to be like, all right, now how do we become like a bigger vessel to take in, these next level of bigger things? And a lot of it can be just a mindset readjustment, which a lot of the tools and strategies we will talk about for failure include. And so being aware of these things is good, because at least you can hopefully catch yourself when you're in a space of being afraid to fail or holding yourself back so that you, air quote, don't fail. And allow yourself to actually move through that. Like, I would say that the goal is to fail. Like, no, not the goal is not to fail. The goal is to be able to maneuver through the failures that are inevitable in order to get to the success and the end results that you're looking for.
And that's actually the first of our 5 strategies to help reframe failure, is learning how to fail gracefully and making it something that, you don't let it decimate your world, but something that you look forward to as an opportunity.
I guess we can, what's a good word? Not decenter. Because we can like bring it down a notch on like, what does it mean? Like if you literally can look at failure and just bring it down a peg to be like, this isn't this learning experience. Like, what if you even change the wording of whatever's going on? Like, my last relationship, that, that learning experience was blah, 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 blah. Or, the learning experience from that work call the other day, da, 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 da. And like, what actually happened was something that you can look at and assess to move through and do something differently.
Yeah, that's the second strategy.
But with this first one, I think one of the most important things with that first strategy that you had down here, Carlie, was when it's saying not to personalize failure. Like, yes, it's a reframe, but just making sure that you're not making it about you. So if something happened, it's not that I failed or I'm a F up or I messed up or all of that. And to make sure that we're saying like, this thing didn't happen or this thing didn't work out, or now put that back into like what we were saying about like how you can look at it. But I think the biggest thing we want to make sure we acknowledge is that you are not the failure, and that nothing you're talking about when you speak about failure is an identity thing with you.
Yeah, and even taking time to affirm yourself for that, like, look how brave you are to try this new thing that you even failed at, to experience this. And like being honest with yourself, where maybe you could have made different decisions. Like, for example, if you're training for a marathon and you don't run one day, like at all before the marathon, you can be real honest with yourself. I didn't practice. I didn't try, and sit with that. So the second step after you recognize you shouldn't personalize failure is reflection and processing. So allowing yourself to sit with the failure and process it and reflect on what you could have done differently, on not personalizing it and not blaming anybody else for your own failure. You can acknowledge and process it. Let yourself feel all of the feelings that come along with that. We're not saying bypass those feelings, but use that time to check in with yourself too, and see, oh, why did I sign up for that marathon if I didn't even want to run it? Like, what's going on with me?
Yeah, and with that, you're examining just what didn't work, what worked, and allowing yourself to essentially just tighten up your playbook for the next time. So that exact thing happened to me where I was the first half marathon that I had signed up for was Miami in like a January. And that December, I was like, I think I was in the Bahamas most of the time or something. And I was trying to do the running, but like it was tough, like continuing through the holidays and all that time. I was like, yeah, I'll never sign up for anything at the top of the year like that again. But it wasn't that. It was also some other like personal things going on or financial things. I don't remember what it was exactly, but like I wasn't in the mood. I wasn't really running. And I was like, all right, I'm not even going to it. And then it didn't happen. But then I realized like how I wanted to like tighten up, look at it differently for the next time, and like just be a little bit more dedicated to my actual schedule, putting more priority on it. And then when I did run the next half, that ended up really being my first one. I don't know, just obviously it felt different because I did it, but I felt redeemed from the first time. But even since then, there's something else I had signed up for that I was like, yeah, that ain't happening, which I don't even remember what it is now. But, I just looked at it like I didn't do what I needed to do and got to do better next time.
Yeah, but not that you're a failure. And that goes into our third step, which is looking at failure as experience and opportunity. And some questions you can ask yourself whenever you are going through that is like, what did I learn from this moment? What is the next, like, what did I learn from this moment? Do I really want to do this thing? If I want to do this thing, what's the next best action that'll help me move closer to my goals? And then thinking about what resources you might need. And then thinking about this, like Lexi said, like you said, to kind of reset your playbook.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then failure is a catalyst. So when things fail, then that's what leads to innovation. So much things that we have right now we would not have without lots of failure. That's what leads to change, new opportunities. You're exploring new spaces. You're exploring new people, different, trying different things. Like that's how you have a catalyst to be in a different world and in a different space, a different type of relationship, all of those things. And so you should definitely take advantage of failure as an opportunity for them.
And that's actually what inspired this episode is I was talking to a friend and he has a company and he was like, yo, just between me and you, we gonna close it.
And Carlie's couch.
Yeah. Look, nobody knows.
It's just funny because she said, look, just between me and him, this is what happened.
Yep, absolutely. But he was like feeling bad about it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, man, I just feel like a failure. And I was like, what is a failure about you having an idea, bringing it to life, building it, doing all these things? Like, what is a failure in that? I just had a vision for it and it didn't turn out. And I was like, but that doesn't mean it's a failure. Like, I want you to process and be sad and do that, but also not beat yourself up because, now it's a possibility to think about all the other ideas that you're trying to bring to life. Mm-hmm. and look at it like that.
And I think it's good when you're going through those types of things to have people around you who can call out for the positive side. And it's good if you're like, but still also like, be down. Cause when I have conversations with people and they feel down or off or whatever it might be, like you do have to be careful of being like, this is an opportunity to win. And it's like, don't nobody want to hear that shit right now. Like when you like really, really failed. So it's good that you did that. And it is important to still like shine a light for them to be able to see that they got something out of the experience regardless, that they have what it takes and the skills and all the things. Like if you got that far, then okay, this is a step back to now maybe go a different direction or do something else that may bring your vision to life in a more impactful way than what you thought you were going to do over there. And so it's good to have that air of positivity with people.
Yeah, and to hold all the space and know that all those things can coexist at the same time because it still sucks. Like, I still feel bad. And also, don't beat yourself up too much. Like, just enough if you feel like there were different decisions you could have made. But we hope that these tips help you, fail more gracefully and learn to accept failure as a part of your life. Hit us at Carlie's Couch to let us know if anything stood out to you or if there's other tips that you can share with others to help them feel better about it.
See you next week.